So I am sitting here, I've just finished some piano work and I'm thinking about the conversation I was having with God yesterday. Hi, my name is MsNoBuntu, divinely inspired, vibrantly anointed artist. If this is your first time on this channel, welcome. If you've just stumbled across this, welcome. Across it, welcome. I have 5 public playlists. Please peruse through those. See if you like what I cover on here content-wise. And if you do, please consider subscribing down below and hit that notifications bell next to that subscribe button so that every time that I do upload something on the channel, you are notified as according to your choice. Anyway, so as I was saying, I was talking to God. I was listening to something and somebody said, I was watching Iyanla Fix My Life the other day. She was saying something, they were having a conversation and she said, you are the common denominator. And I said, what does that mean, God? I don't like that. Just because I'm a common denominator doesn't mean that something is my fault. So I really asked God, because for years and years and years, I've been asking, what does this mean? You're the common denominator and therefore you should take the blame. Or, it felt like you're the common denominator, therefore you should take the blame. You're the common denominator, therefore the problem is you. And I said, I don't quite agree with that. And over the years, I've struggled with taking the responsibility of I'm a common denominator and therefore the problem or the matter or whatever it is that's causing something to be off with other people. She was talking to Lisa Ray and she was saying, you didn't break down with this woman, and this woman in your life. You didn't break down with the women in your life and you are the common denominator. And I said, what does this mean? There's this thing that keeps happening and you are the common denominator. Does it mean that it's my fault that things are happening? And that has never really sat well with me. And so I was grappling with God and I said, God, what does that mean? I'm the common denominator, or another person is the common denominator, and this is what he brought to my understanding. You being the common denominator in a dynamic is not to say that the reason that the dynamic occurs is your fault and that you are the instigator of the dynamic. But what I see now and understand is that being the common denominator is your typical common denominator way of interacting with a dynamic when it pops up. So when it shows up, you have not yet figured out a way to react to it in a different way that is probably more constructive than you have been so far. You do not interact with that dynamic in a way that it does not shape your world and it doesn't press your buttons. You still react to it in a way that causes some kind of dissonance or breakdown with people or within that context of that dynamic. And that the moment you change how you interact with a dynamic or something that shows up and pops up and comes up, how you change, when you now decide to change it, then that common denominator of your typical knee-jerk reaction that has been your habit all along changes your position in that dynamic. And I said, I get it, God. So God was saying to me, when you say, even just the saying to Lisa Ray, when Iyanla was saying, you break down with all the women in your life and you the common denominator. She wasn't saying, and you are to blame. She was saying, the way that you keep reacting to whatever thing that rises up and creates breakdown, that's you who's doing that, and you keep doing it with this person, that person, and the result of it is breakdown. Try to figure out a different way to show up so that if you're a common denominator, then it's a constructive and a nice, a productive outcome that comes out of you reacting in a different way, interacting in a different way to something that comes up, to a dynamic that rises up, to a context that rises up. How do I react in such a way that even if I am a common denominator, I'm not the problematic common denominator because of my reaction or how I interact when something comes up. When I got that, it really made sense to me, because I always understood, oh, you're the common denominator. You're the one who's the problem. And God's saying, no, it's not your fault that the dynamic comes up. So a lot of times people are doing things and the lesson is to be delivered from continuing to react in that common denominator way. And you keep failing the test because you keep answering the same question. It's like a comprehension question, and it was marked wrong last time, and then you take the test again, and maybe the test is slightly worded different, but it's literally the same problem, and you still answer it the same way that you were marked wrong on the last time. That's the common denominator. You're still approaching it the same way. The moment that you change your approach, that you hone in and change your understanding of what is going on, and therefore respond, not perhaps react, but respond in kind to what is going on, then you are no longer the common denominator. You get to pass the test, and perhaps even the thing that keeps coming up and keeps repeating, that cycle gets broken. That thing that doesn't keep occurring, because then you have once, twice, 10 times, 50 times changed your approach in how you then respond to when that thing comes up and it rises up and it occurs. And then it breaks that assignment or that cycle or that activity of that thing that is not enjoyable to go through, but it always comes up and you're always in the midst of it. It's calling for you to approach and to interact or to respond to it differently and get that lesson and unlearn the way that has not been very productive, that you've been interacting and reacting to the thing that comes up, and change how you then respond. And then that thing, even when it comes up, you won't be in the position where someone is telling you, you're the common denominator. you know? And even if you are, you know that you're the common denominator that's responding in a way that's constructive, that's not being combative, that's responding in a way that's listening and not being ready to answer, ready to fight. And then you stop feeling like some kind of shame that you are the common denominator that causes a combustion every time. What's your part that you play that causes a combustion, that causes things to escalate? And that's what that common denominator is about. It's like there's something that you keep doing because you're not getting the lesson, and you keep being given the opportunity to take the test again and again because you were marked wrong last time. And to respond in a way that's not combative, to respond in a way that has listened, that has understood, and in a way that is grounded, in a way that is level-headed, and to respond and to not react. And then that thing, the hold of it, I don't know what it is, the hold that it has on you that causes you to escalate and to react and to knee-jerk react and to get upset in that time, or just do something that's not necessarily productive or constructive in that time, then stops, because you change how you then interact when that thing comes up. I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking to whoever else has been asking themselves the same question. What does "you are the common denominator" mean? It means that you've taken the test there's a context to the test and you've already been marked wrong, but you keep showing up to the test and you keep answering it the same way that you did before that was marked incorrect. And you are being called to think more critically, to pay attention more critically, and change how you interact in a certain context, change how you respond, and therefore extinguish or disarm something and keep it from escalating. And once you can do that and do it consistently, you've learned your lesson and you pass the test. And that thing that keeps coming up, that comes up, it'll continue to come up, but it won't be the thing that has you, that just sets you off and sets you off kilter and just makes you come apart. It'll happen and you will respond to it accordingly, and you will remain in your own authority, and you will be able to then quickly move on from it, and it won't have this hold on you or leave you thinking about it, or why does this keep coming up? Am I the problem? And then go into some kind of shame spiral about it. So I just wanted to share that with you, that for me, the notion of common denominator is a call to change your approach, change your response, change how you process something, and change the habitual way of how you've been processing something so that it no longer has the effect that it continues to have on you. Actually, I'll make the example about myself. In the context of, Iana was saying, you're in breakdown with this person and that person, and that's because you are the common denominator. I realized, for example, I was a common denominator in certain relationships in my life no longer existing simply because of one thing. I did not create awareness about my feelings to the other person. I would simply just cut a person off and be out. Literally, I would simply just, oh my gosh, I don't need to be having this conversation with you. Cut, I'm out. And now how I show up, and I've decided I'm going to show up, is I'm going to create awareness. When you do this, this is my experience of it. It makes me feel this way. And I would like to make this kind of request so that from you, so that as you are doing this, you are aware how it's making me feel and how I'm experiencing you and how I'm experiencing this thing that you're doing. Can I just ask that you make this adjustment? And the person may say, I'm not willing to make that adjustment. And okay, if you're not willing to make that adjustment, I accept that about you, but here is where I stand. As long as you are unwilling to make that adjustment, not because I'm forcing you or manipulating you, I'm going to have to just increase distance or contact level with you, because it really just jars me or rubs me the wrong way or affects me in this way, or I have this kind of experience when you do that thing. So creating awareness so that a person knows that, oh, you're not calling them weakly anymore because of that thing that you told them. When you do this, this is how I feel, or this is how I experience you, and this is my experience of you. And they know exactly why you're not talking to them as often as you used to, why you're not calling them as often as you used to, why there's distance, why they are a low contact person as opposed to being a high contact person in your life. You've told them what the reason is. You've had a clarifying and clear conversation with them. And they said, I'm not willing to make a slight adjustment. I'm not willing to make a slight change, to at least take that into consideration. And so I'm willing to have you be out of my life. Then they'll know what happened. And it won't be, I don't know what happened. So-and-so just stopped talking to me. So that for me, I found my common denominator thing that I would do is that I would just cut people off. Look, we're grown. We shouldn't have to create this kind of awareness, but we don't want to also operate from a place of making assumptions. I've decided that I'm going to commit to creating awareness and making my requests known. And if in creating awareness and making my requests known, that can salvage a relationship, great. absolutely wonderful. But if in creating awareness and making my, you know, my boundaries known means the end of a relationship, okay, then we know why this relationship has come to an end. You're not confused. I'm not confused. And the day that you're willing to make the readjustment is perhaps the day that we can come back into contact with each other again. So that is what I wanted to share with you. Let me know what your thoughts are on these things in my head, and I just wanted to share them with you, and I want to have a conversation with you. So please talk to me down below in the comments section. This is it. I really appreciate you for continuing to keep coming back to this channel and logging on and checking up on me. I will see you again next time. I absolutely appreciate you. Stay blessed and be blessed. Bye.